All right, the time is finally here, friends. Thursday night, 7 p.m. in the Bounce House, UCF, South Carolina State. And there's going to be a familiar voice in the booth helping to call this game. And we're happy that he could find some time to join us tonight. Leger Douzable is with us. He'll be on the call for ESPN Plus. Leger, first off, thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's start here. A lot of stuff going on with UCF this offseason, and probably the biggest thing everyone talked about was quarterbacks. Gus Malzahn finally decides John Rhys-Plumlee will be QB1. Kind of a two-parter for me. What did you make of that decision, and what do you think led Gus to go down that path?
I think, like many other UCF fans and people that follow the program, was a little surprised, right? Mikey King, we know he could spin the ball. We know he had a real rapport with Ryan O'Keefe and some of the other receivers. Now, we got two transfer guys and Kobe Hudson and Javon Baker that will be starting with Ryan O'Keefe. So you got new receivers on the outside. But as far as being able to threaten teams with throwing the ball down the field, I thought Mikey King showed well last year when Dillon Gabriel got hurt, got thrust in that action as a freshman quarterback and played really well at times. I think Gus leaned towards John Rhys-Plumlee because of the athletic ability. John Rhys-Plumlee, honestly, might be the second or third fastest player on the team, not just on offense, like player, period. And we saw when he was at Ole Miss and he was quarterback, I believe, for 9 games. 2019 set the freshman, rushing record as a quarterback, not even a running back. So, Gus Malzahn, if you look at his offense in the past, think Marshall and other guys that have been athletic at the quarterback position, he always likes to have a mobile athletic quarterback, right? So I think that's why he kind of leaned towards John Rhys-Plumlee, a guy that can be really explosive with his legs. And also he can make the throws, right? The short throws. Gus Malzahn likes to throw those screens to Ryan O'Keefe, right? Quick slant routes, quick hitch routes. He wants to stay ahead of the sticks. Gus Malzahn wants methodical drives. We know how fast his offense gets on the football. They want to wear teams out. So I think that's what Gus was thinking as far as why he went with John Rhys-Plumlee, right? I'm going to go with a guy that's athletic, right? Because when you have a quarterback that can run, right, that's an extra man unaccounted for in the box by the defense, right? You have another weapon you can use at the quarterback position because usually, when you're talking about stopping the run or stopping the offense, a lot of times you don't equate the quarterback in that. But when you have an athletic quarterback, you have to account for him. So I think that's kind of why Gus leaned towards, taking John Rhys-Plumlee over Mikey King at the quarterback position.
How much do you think the running attack? Obviously, UCF brings back Isaiah Bowser, Johnny Richardson's a dynamic running back, Mark Anthony Richards, RJ Harvey coming back from injury. How much do you think the rushing attack factors into that decision? No, he's got a pretty potent running back tandem behind him.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think why I was so confused, right? I think UCF averaged over 200 yards rushing last year without Mikey King running the football. So, you had a guy like, Plumley at the quarterback position, they can only go up from here. And I think that's Gus wants to run the ball first, right? He wants to set that tone. We got a veteran offensive line. He wants to be more physical than the other team. So now it can only elevate that run game because, again, now on defense, you have to account for that. Like on zone read before with Mikey King, the defensive ends weren't really respecting him keeping the ball. And I think earlier last year, Dillon Gabriel kind of changed the narrative because we saw it in the Louisville game. We saw it in the Boise State game, him keeping the ball. Before, he would never do that. So, again, it accounts for another runner with the football. And on a defensive side, being a defensive guy myself, like that keeps you up at night, right? When you have a quarterback that's unaccounted for that can run the football. I think, again, it can only elevate the run game. And I think Gus wants to come out and set a tone, a physical tone, and run the football, whether that's with the quarterback or whether it's with the 3 running backs, Isaiah Bowser, Johnny Richardson, or Mark Anthony Richards. I think he just really wants to establish this run game.
Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, this is year 2 under defensive coordinator T. Will. We saw the defense get a lot better as the season went on last year. What can we expect? We expect more wrinkles. Do we expect them to add some different things into the mix this season?
I think with the secondary, and I don't think the secondary is talked enough about nationwide, not just in the American Conference. It's one of the best secondaries in the nation, right? With the amount of players he has in the secondary that he can move around, I think you're going to see so many different packages, especially in the nickel and dime situations, second and third and long. They have so many good players outside Davonte Brown can lock down a receiver. Brandon Adams was a freshman last year, right? And this dude is big time. I seen him. Alec Pierce is a guy that went in the second round. I saw him lock him up in that Cincinnati game. But one of my favorite players without a doubt, Justin Hodges, man. He plays the night position for the Knights, which is kind of like that hybrid nickel linebacking position. This dude is just tough. He plays the game the right way, physicality. T. Will likes to bring him on blitzes. He also likes to bring Davonte Brown on boundary blitzes. But Justin Hodges, I think, can really, last year he was beat up a little bit in the beginning of the year, didn't really get on to like 3 or 4 games into the season and like kind of solidify his position on this team. But I think he can make this defense special. Devon Wilson is a guy who could play some nickel, who could play the safety position. Quadric Bullard is kind of like the mental part in the back end as far as being a sure tackler and getting everybody lined up and together. This secondary can be special. And then added with this defensive line, I mean, Tremont Morris-Brash to me is the best rusher we have on the defensive front, right? I think just from talking to the coaches and support staff and everybody else, I think he's really coming to his own this year. I think he's really getting it, and it's really coming together for him. I think he's going to be unstoppable coming off the edge this year. Josh Ellisgar plays the game the way it's supposed to be played, physicality. That's what Josh, Ellisgar is. And then Ricky Barber is a man-child in that middle at the defensive tackle position. He's going to be a load. Again, when he transferred from Western Kentucky, was a freshman All-American. He's going to be an issue in that middle. And then Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, this is his show. Like after years of, being kind of like the side linebacker with Tatum, Bethune, and, Nate Evans there, like now it's his show to run. And I think he's really leaned into that, being the vocal point on that defense, and also was voted in as a captain this year. So like that shows you what his teammates think of him. So I think this defense could be special. They did a good job of turning the ball over last year. I think only gave up about 24 points a game. I could even see that going down this year, maybe to 21, even 20, because I think they can be that dominant if they really hone in and lock in, and as long as guys stay healthy.
How hard is it going to be for these guys not to look past South Carolina State? Obviously, not an FBS team. You got Louisville the next week.
Yeah.
It is the first game of the year, so you expect the guys to be hyped up. Is there any way that they come into this game a little lackluster or no?
I think you said it best. It's the first game of the year. Guys are itching to get on the field. You're tired of hitting your brother every day. You want to see another color and take it out on them. Now, if this was week 3 or 4 and you got Louisville the next week, then you kind of worry about something like that. But I don't think there'll be any letdown because I think these guys are hungry and ready to get on the field. They felt like they left some games on the field last year. 8 returning starters, I believe, on defense and 7 on offense, or vice versa, one of the two. So you got a lot of returning starters. These guys know what it felt to lose a lot of close games. The Navy game, that's a game I think they definitely want back. The Louisville game, that's a game they want back. So, just listen to Justin Hodges and how he was thinking and his mentality and how the defense is thinking. I think these guys are just juiced up and ready to go. I mean, it's football season. Week 1, like you don't need anybody to get you up for that game, no matter who the opponent is. You're going to be excited to go out there and play.
We did our preview show, and I picked Josh Ellisgar as my breakout player on defense. Again, he's a guy, you hear his name a lot, but you look up his stats. He has 3 career sacks at UCF, and he's entering his 3rd season. You're obviously a guy who knows that line position really well. Yeah. What do you want to see him do differently this year? What do you think he needs to do to take that next step to be kind of that dominant bookend force with Tremont Morris-Brash?
Yeah, the thing with him, right, again, I like the way he plays. He plays with physicality in the run game, in the pass rush game. He just has to get better with his hands, right, and finishing and getting to the quarterback. I think he broke on the scene that Georgia Tech game, his freshman year, sack, fumble. I think he also had an interception that game. Like, he played unbelievable that game. But I just want him to take that next game. I mean, he's a junior and was voted as a captain as well. So that also shows you what his teammates think about him as well. But I just need him to take that next step when it comes to his hand usage, right? Now, I don't think his hand usage will be as good as Tremont Brash. Tremont just does a lot of things naturally. He came into UCF doing a lot of things naturally. But I need Josh Ellisgar to be around that 6'7" range this year, right? If this defense wants to truly be dominant, if he can be around that 6'7" range, then it's impossible to double team Ricky Barber. It's impossible to double team Tremont Morris-Brash because now you've got a guy on the other side that's creating havoc and getting to the quarterback as well. So I think that should be his main goal, right? He plays the game the right way. He plays with effort. He plays with physicality. Can he get better in his hand usage and getting to the quarterback and finishing? That's the next step he needs to take.
You mentioned the outside weapons we brought in. We also brought in Kamor Gamble, tight end transfer from Florida, with Alec Collar, who kind of burst on the scene last year. It's been a couple of years. It's been really since the Klubi Ali days. We had a real good receiving threat at tight end. How do you see Gus working these tight ends in? And how big a deal is it to have somebody like a Gamble, like a Holler on the offensive side to help a guy like Plumley as he's kind of learning the offense?
I was just about to say, don't sleep on Alex Holler now. Alex Holler, he's a
Yeah.
baller. Like, and that's another thing. He had a real rapport with Mikey Keene as well, right? He was a guy they really sought out in the red zone on those drag routes coming across the field. Alex Holler was a beast, and he wasn't taken down easily. The first guy never takes him down. I think with Gamble coming in now, you might even see Gus run some 12 sets with 2 tight ends, right? Play action pass, the split zone running game, the power game, all that comes in to fruition. And then off of that, right, you make everything look the same. Then you hit the tight ends down the seam on play action. So having viable pass catchers are quarterback's best friend, right? It's their safety blankets in the middle of the field. So I think having both of those guys where you can interchange them or keep them on the field at the same time, because they are athletic enough to run and catch the football. They're not just blockers. I think that'll help the offense even more. I think it's going to help John Rhys-Plumlee even more too, because now he has options. He can go to multiple guys. Last year it was like the Ryan O'Keefe show, or who else was getting the football, right? Alex Holler came on late last year, especially in that Temple game. But before that, it was the Ryan O'Keefe show. Now you got, Javon Baker, Kobe Hudson, who was Auburn's leading receiver this year. He comes over to UCF. Now you got 2 viable tight ends, and you have a 3-headed monster, and actually 4 or 5-headed monster at running back. You talk about having playmakers on the outside and in the backfield. Now John Rhys-Plumlee doesn't feel like he has to do everything by himself. Just run the offense, get the ball into your playmakers' hands, and everything will be fine.
The one area that everybody's been a little concerned about the last few years, special teams. The depth chart came out yesterday, and we have O'Keefe and Johnny Richardson returning kicks. Yeah. How do you feel about having some of your bigger name guys back there? I know back in your day we had Joe Burnett back there. Do you like having those guys, or would you rather it be like a second string receiver type guy?
Honestly, in college, your best players are your best special teams player. You want the best athlete out there. And like Ryan O'Keefe has aspirations to play the next level. That's how he's going to get on teams. Punt return, right? Be special at punt returns. We know what you can do in the slot. He'll probably be a slot guy at the next level. But if you really want to, teams to hone in and lock in on you, you got to be explosive on special teams. Same thing with Johnny Richardson. We know the speed he has, right? He can break open any play, any kick return, anytime he catches the ball out of the backfield, anytime he runs the ball out of the backfield. But you got to be explosive on special teams. There's 3 phases of the game, and people tend to forget. Special teams is a major, phase of the games. Teams that win special teams usually, they have a better chance at winning the game. So, I don't mind having your best players because those are important plays. Kick return, punt return, that's field position, right? You want people back there that you can trust in. So you don't want to put somebody back there, that may be a good returner, but, is your 3rd or 4th receiver, and that's all they're doing. You want to put people back there that can be elite athletes and make plays in space, and that's what Ryan O'Keefe and Johnny Richardson can do. So I love that some of your best players are back there returning. If you look at some of the programs that have done it for a high level at a long time, Alabama, most of their starting corners are on special teams, right? LSU, same thing. Odell Beckham Jr. was the punt returner. Tyrann Mathieu, punt returner. You want your best athletes back there fielding punts and fielding kick returns.
What about the kicking game itself? We got Daniel Obarski coming in this year. He's been up and down. He's had his moments with the fans. We had the incident in Memphis with that missed kick.
Yeah.
What can he do to build his confidence coming into this year? He hasn't kicked a field goal over 40 yards yet in his career.
Yeah, I believe that's his long, right? 40 is his long. Listening to Gus, he said he's had a really good camp. And I think the only way a kicker can have confidence is continue to kick and make field goals. That's the only thing you can do. You can build him up as much as you want. But for a player, it's himself. The only thing he can do to build confidence is go out there and do his job and do it at a high level. So we're hoping, that, he's turned the corner this year. The kid has a leg, right? Accuracy has been the issue with him. If he could be more accurate, again, that's another weapon you have in the bag, because now if you're Gus and you're around the 25, 26-yard line, you don't even consider, going for it on 4th down and potentially turning the ball over, even though UCF, I believe, was the number 1 4th down team on offense last year, around 83 or 84%. You kick the field goal because you have a weapon that can make the kick, that has the leg and has the accuracy. So I think it comes down for Obarski, his confidence, right? If he can make a few kicks early in the season, I think it'll go a long way for him.
I want to put your defensive helmet back on for a second. UCF's going to start a 6'10" right tackle in Ryan Swoboda, the transfer from Virginia. When you line up against a 6'10" tackle, what are you thinking? Is there intimidation? Are you thinking, hey, I can get low on this guy? What's your tactic as a defensive player?
We're going to see if he can move and bend at that size, right? That's the one thing. I think I got to ask this question earlier today, just talking to, some random people about the game. They're like, you got 2 6'10" offensive tackles. What are you thinking? Are you intimidated? No. If I'm on defense, right, we're going to see if this guy can move. We're going to slant our defensive line. And in pass rush situations, we're going to see how low he can get, right? You got those guys that can dip under those punches. We're going to see if he can bend low enough to block us when we're running full speed and we dip under him when he tries to punch us in the chest. So that's the thing you worry about with guys that are that big. But the thing is, Swoboda has played a lot of football at the University of Virginia, was offensive lineman of the week, I believe, last year for one of the weeks there. So this is a guy, again, that has a ton of experience, has played at a high level at the ACC. So I'm not too worried about him. If this was a guy, again, that hadn't really played and bounced around the transfer portal here, there, and there, then you maybe have some concerns. But this guy's played a lot of football.
One of the other positions most people are concerned about is linebacker. You mentioned JJB. He's obviously the stalwart, but a lot of young guys, some unproven guys in that spot. We have some transfers coming in. Jason Johnson looks like he's going to get the start. Correct. For those of us watching at home on Thursday, take us inside a little bit. What should we be looking for in linebacker play to help us understand how well their guys are playing? Are there keys that we should be kind of keying in on to see kind of specifically how our linebackers are performing? Because it's not just tackles, obviously, from that position.
Obviously not. Yeah, you want to see if they're reading their keys, right? Also recognizing play action pass, right? Are they getting to their right depth drops in zone coverage? Those are the things you want to watch. And, Johnson played at a high level at Eastern Illinois, was a sophomore All-American. I think Brandon Jennings came over from Maryland. He's played at a high level at the ACC. So I think one thing fans could take solace in is we finally have depth. That was an issue last year at the linebacker position. Honestly, when Tatum Bethune went down, when Jean-Baptiste went down, it was an issue. When Armstrong went down, it was an issue. Now you have guys that backing these guys up that have played, at high level and played, at Eastern Illinois, which is an FCS school, but still played at a high level and was a sophomore All-American. You have Brandon Jennings that played at Maryland, which, was the Big Ten, right? So, like, these guys have experience and we have depth there now. So it's all about reading your keys, right? Like, when you're that, that linebacker and your guard just pulling, like, are you getting there and spilling it to the Mike linebacker, right? Are you getting there? Are you waiting and putting all that pressure on your defensive line? Again, in zone coverage, are you getting to your drops on play action pass? Are they fooling you? Are you running up to the line of scrimmage and now they're hitting the tight end behind you? Those are the things you have to watch when you're watching these linebackers perform on the field, and just how active they are. Like, do they play with physicality, right? Are they turning it down when they meet an O-lineman, or are they shocking and shedding? So those are the things you just want to keep an eye on for when you're looking at these linebackers play in this game.
Obviously, UCF fans probably not too familiar with the South Carolina State football team. Give us a little bit of a scouting report. What kind of style of offense do they run? Who are some of the playmakers we got to look out for?
Yeah, this is a team that has a few players that potentially will play at the next level, right? This is a team last year had a lot of success. Now, they had a gauntlet of a schedule to start the season, just like they do this year, right? They have UCF, I believe FAMU, who was in the FCS playoffs last year, Bethune-Cookman, who was a really good team in the FCS. They also have South Carolina they have to play. So they could potentially start off 0-5. But they're a team, again, that down the back stretch of the year last year went undefeated in the MEAC, won the MEAC, played Jackson State in the Celebration Bowl, and they were, I think, like 17-point underdogs. And they smoked Jackson State, right? I don't think anybody saw that happening. I think that's a testament to Buddy Pugh and how he has his team ready to go. Jablonski Green is their outside linebacker / DN. He's an FCS All-American, not just a MEAC All-American. He's an FCS preseason All-American. I'm talking about 19.5 tackle for losses. So he creates havoc, not just getting after the quarterback, but in the run game. They do a lot of slanting up front. And again, we talked about Swoboda being 6'10". They're going to test his athletic ability because his defensive line is going to move, and their defensive coordinator is going to blitz. He's going to show you 3-man fronts. He's going to show you 4-man fronts. He's going to even show you 5-man fronts. So communication is going to be a key for the offensive line for UCF. Again, the 3 interior guys have played a lot of football together, but the 2 tackles on the outside, even though they're veterans, they're new. So, in week 1, there probably will be some sloppiness just because of communication, and these guys haven't been in the program as long. That's expected in week 1. The more they play, the more they're gel. Also, on offense, they got a receiver that I think will play at the next level. Shaquan Davis, 6'5", 205 pounds, and he can run. Like, run. He runs like the wind. And there'll be times he's in double coverage. They throw it up to him. He'll still go get it. There was a couple of times in Jackson State, they max protected 2 tight ends, and they knew he was double, and they still fed him the ball. I mean, this kid went for 3 touchdowns in that game. He's a big-time playmaker. And then Kendall Flowers is their running back. He's a Wake Forest transfer. He transferred from Wake Forest. Has good bursts, can run with some physicality, had over 800 yards there last year. So they got some good players, some players that could potentially play at the next level. But those are the three guys on their team.
Obviously, everybody knows you're a UCF guy. You went to UCF. Now you're doing the broadcasting thing. Is it hard for you to kind of catch yourself, maybe not rooting for UCF, or do you find yourself trying to overcompensate and maybe compliment the other team a little bit more so you don't get caught saying anything like that?
It's so funny because I get this question all the time. And last year, I think the first time I called a UCF game, I think, like you said, I think I overcompensated just to make sure I wasn't being a homer. But now, like I've called like I think I called 4 UCF games last year. It's second nature now. I just become a fan of the game, right? And my job really when I'm in that booth is to break the game down so that, even the average or even a kid as a fan can understand what I'm saying. I'm trying to give you information on the field that you may not know. I'm really there just to educate the fan base. That's what I'm there to do and have a good time doing it. So it's not an issue anymore. I would say, like I said, my first game versus UCF, I think I toned it down a little bit too much. Now I just go out there and have fun, man, enjoying calling the game and just educating the fan base.
All right, take us into gamesmanship. How much of the playbook do you think is going to be available on week 1? How much do you think Gus and T will want to put on tape, knowing you got Louisville, knowing you got Georgia Tech and FAU right after that? Do you think the full playbook's available in week 1?
I think it just depends on how the game's going, right? I think if UCF goes out there and plays basic, coverages on defense, right? And lets the D-line get after South Carolina State, and then on offense you run a basic playbook, you don't pull out too many things, and you're having success, then I think that's what they keep it as, right? But now if you're struggling and say it's only a 1-score game at the end of the first quarter and then it's only a 10-point score at the end of the half, then I think you open up the playbook, right? So I think it's going to be determined on what happens in that game, right? Does UCF come out on fire, get a 2 or 3 score lead really quick? Then, you start going into your depth. And I heard, Gus answer this question earlier this week. People are asking, do you think about like getting some of your young guys some work? Nah, you think about winning the football game first and foremost. That's what has to be on your mind. Because again, South Carolina State, again, they just wanted to hang in there. Just hang in there. Just give us a chance. In half, we're only down by 7 or 10. We got a chance, right? In the third quarter, we're only down by 7. We got a chance. So they're going to come out and they're just going to come out and compete, right? Again, the MEAC is the most important thing for them, but anytime you're on that football field, it's a blessing. You want to go out there and put your best foot forward, and I guarantee Buddy Pugh is going to have his team coming out there, and they're going to fight hard.
From UCF standpoint, what are the keys to the game in your mind?
Yeah, first and foremost, you want to get your quarterback comfortable, right? John Rhys-Plumlee, first start, get him some easy throws. Now, again, Gus is going to want to come out and establish physicality and run the football, but you also want to get a rhythm in this game with your quarterback as far as his connection with the 2 new receivers, right? And also with Ryan O'Keefe, right? Because he wasn't here last year. So essentially, this is the first game with all 3 of these receivers and this quarterback playing together. So you want to get the quarterback some easy throws, whether it be quick slant routes, some quick screens, just to get his confidence up. And then off of that, then you open up your playbook a little. On defense, right? They have to stop Shaq Davis. That's what it comes down to. This is a guy, again, they're going to take 3 or 4 shots down the field with this guy because he can run. He's a big receiver. He has a high catch radius. He can go up and get the contested catch. This is a guy they're going to get the ball, but they're going to also establish the run. Again, I talked about it. A lot of times they go 12 personnel. They have 2 tight ends that can block and will block you through the end of the whistle. So physicality on defense is going to be a big thing. They're going to try to establish the run, and then they're going to try to block it up and take shots with Shaq Davis.
Last year, UCF overcame a lot of adversity, a lot of injuries throughout the year, still finished the season with 9 wins, beat the Gators in the bowl game. Yeah. This year, year 2 under Gus, what are the season expectations? What makes this a successful season in your eyes?
Conference championship, 100%. This team is built to win a conference championship. And honestly, this team is built, and I don't even like saying this, they could go undefeated if they play the way they're supposed to play. If everybody can stay healthy, because that's always a big thing in football, everybody staying healthy. But if this team puts it all together, right, and plays the way they're supposed to play, I have no doubt in my mind this team could go undefeated because they have the juggernaut Cincinnati at home, and I believe SMU at home as well, too. And, the Knights record at the Bounce House speaks for itself. So if they do everything they're supposed to do, maybe most likely play Houston in a championship game. We don't know where that will be played at. But this team could potentially go undefeated. But at bare minimum, I think it's conference championship or bust for this team.
You mentioned the crowd, the way they get involved. You've seen it from all levels. You've seen it as a player on the field. You've seen it as a fan from the stands. Now as a broadcaster in the booth. What's your feeling of the UCF fan base? How pumped up do you get? When they start playing Zombie Nation, you found yourself maybe doing a little bounce in the broadcast?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be bouncing up and down a little bit. And then right when we come on live, I'll calm down and get back into character. But, yeah, I mean, when Zombie Nation comes on, you got to bounce up and down. I mean, even going back to when I was playing in our first year in that stadium, there's nothing like the bounce house, man. As far as the fans, that we got those metal bleachers and that Zombie Nation comes on and just see the whole fan base going up and down. And even at night, everybody puts their cell phone lights on. It's magical, man. You love it, man. So yeah, when that Zombie Nation comes on, yeah, I bounce for a little bit. Then I, you got to work, dudes. Lock back in.
You mentioned Mike mentioned Joe Burnett earlier, your former teammate, going to the Hall of Fame. How cool is it to see? First, I was surprised he wasn't already in the Hall of Fame. How cool is it to see some of the guys you're playing with now getting opportunities to get to the Hall of Fame and seeing those guys come back to UCF and get their jerseys hung and get the proper recognition they deserve?
Yeah, so I was able to see my brother Brandon Marshall get in there. Yeah. I think is Joe Burnett going in this year or he went last year?
He's going this year.
This year, right? Yeah. So Joe to see Smoking Joe get in there. Josh Sitton, I was there when he got in. Kevin Smith. It's a blessing to see some of those guys. I mean, hopefully one day my name will be called amongst those guys as well. But I think it hits different when it's guys that you played with going in there, right? Because we had a special bond. Again, we were the first. My class was the first one to win a conference championship and at the Division 1A level as far as winning the Conference USA championship. And that's something that we'll never forget. And it was the first year in the bounce house. So it was a special thing. I think I was talking to somebody the other day and I'm like, every time we move into a conference, the first year we win it, right? We won the Conference USA. We won the American the first year. Big 12, who knows? Next year, could we win it all in the first year? So, I mean, if history repeats itself, it looks good for UCF in the future.
What do you make of what Gus has done on the recruiting trail? He's made an effort to, get this hometown hero campaign. He wants to put a fence around the state of Orlando, kind of akin to what Miami did back in the day. And he's delivered, right? A bunch of 4-star kids have committed. Man. What do you kind of make of what you've seen Gus do and how he's taken that program from a recruiting perspective?
Man, it's been amazing. Now, if these guys actually sign on the dotted line, it's going to change our program. And literally, that's why I went to UCF to see where UCF is now, right? When I came, like George O'Leary, he promised us we were going to have an on-campus stadium. I got that my senior year. He said we would have an indoor facility. We were the first Florida school to have one of those. I think a lot of people don't even know that because in Florida, you're like, you don't need an indoor facility, but it rains and storms all the time. You need an indoor, you're going to miss a lot of practice time. So we were the first Florida school to have that, and then other schools followed suit. So, to see what they're going to do with, the lazy river and everything they're building out by the stadium, like, it's crazy. That's why I went to UCF, because I knew this program, had a chance to be part of something that could change the narrative, right? Change the narrative about UCF sports, change the narrative about UCF football. Now, year in and year out, usually we're around the top 25 program. We're a team that, I think along with Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Bama, I think Clemson and Georgia were one of like 5 or 6 schools that had a streak of, 50 wins in like 4 years. Not many schools did that. So this is a team that is used to winning year in and year out now. Like I said, it's a change the narrative type school now. And now we'll be competing. I mean, we're already the best school in Florida. I don't even think that's debatable right now. But now it's time to take it to the next level to be one of the top teams in the nation.
For you, going into a new season like this, is the one thing you miss the least training camp, especially like a George O'Leary training camp?
Man, at any level, I don't miss training camp, to be honest with you. I mean, I was talking about that with my friends the other day. I'm like, even when I thought about coming back for year 11, I was like, nah, I ain't doing training camp. This is it. Like, training camp alone has retired a lot of players in college and in the NFL because it's different, man. It's a grind. Like in the league, people don't understand this. Like, honestly, training camp in the NFL is probably worse than college because it's like a month and a half. People don't understand that. And when I played pre-CBA, like we were doing 2-a-days, like back-to-back days, 2-a-day. So you come in the morning, you got full pads. In the afternoon, you have shoulder pads on. So like in college, we did that, but it was 2 weeks. You're talking about a month of that in the NFL. So it was totally different when I played my first couple of years. And then, after my third year, they kind of changed that rule where you couldn't really do, two-a-days anymore. It was more of a practice and a walkthrough in the afternoon, or a walkthrough in the morning and a practice in the afternoon. So, yeah, man, even training camp, how it is today, if it was like that, I probably could have played 2 more years. But, to be an undrafted free agent and play 10 years in the NFL, I mean, not many do that. So it was a blessing.
How much are you enjoying this broadcasting stuff? Is this something you see yourself doing for the next 40 years and maybe doing Sunday night football? Is that the dream?
40 years?
You're a young man. You're still young.
Yeah, that's the dream, eventually, to call NFL games. But there's nothing like college football, man. Honestly, calling college football is second to none. The authenticity of the fan base, right? The authenticity of people putting on for the school where they went for 4 years. Like it just hits different, man. And granted, like in the NFL, there are generations of, families that have been fans with just one team, but it's different nowadays. Like people usually jump ship with players nowadays. So like, I think the thing with college is like, that's going to always be your college. You're going to always put on for your college. So I just think the pureness of college football is second to none. And I'm truly enjoying calling it.
Well, we'll get you out of here on this question. Obviously, Mike mentioned you're calling college games, but you got a lot of the cool projects that you do as well. Where else can people keep up with you and sort of consume the content you're putting out?
Yeah, so right before I got on with you guys, I have my 5-day-a-week show on Sirius XM, Mad Dog Sports Radio. It's I Am Athlete Tonight. I am the host. It's really cool, man. We give you a locker room vibe. It's me, LaShawn Shady McCoy, Brandon Marshall, who played at UCF as well, Adam Pac-Man Jones, Auntie Chantel, Brandon Flowers, Omar Kelly. We keep it fresh on there. Antoine Walker, we rotate. I'm the constant guy, but we rotate the other co-hosts. That way we always have fresh voices on our show. So I literally do that every day, 7 to 9 Eastern on Sirius XM Mad Dog Radio channel. And then also CBS HQ. I'll be doing sports analysis for them again this year on the NFL tip and on the college front as well. So yeah, those are some of the projects you can catch me doing this year.
Hardest working man in show business. What when you get back to Orlando, what's one meal you have to have when you're in Orlando? Is there one place you got to go to get some food?
Huey Magoo's.
Oh, nice answer. Yeah.
Come on, Huey's has to happen. Answer. Yeah, that's right. Huey's has to happen no matter what. I'll probably go there tomorrow when I get there.
Well, we appreciate. What do you eat during the game? Are you a hot dog guy?
I don't like to eat during the game, right? Because you don't know how your stomach's going to turn. I got to call the game. I literally I always try to eat like 3 hours before the game. So usually when the game ends, I'm starving. So I don't like to eat, during the game or before, right before the game.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule. Obviously, you got a lot of stuff going on, man. Can't wait to hear in the call on Thursday night again, ESPN Plus, 7 p.m. You can catch Leger, UCF South Carolina State. Thanks a lot for hopping in, man. Hope to catch up with you soon.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, man.